Hello everyone, Richard Carlton here. Welcome to a first day of rebuilding our broadcast computer system here. I'm here with Nick Hunter, who's going to be broadcasting today. We've kind of got Nick back doing Nicky stuff. Hi Nick, how are you?
Doing good, thank you.
So today's broadcast is going to be day 3 of what Nick has been working on, which is the FM gallery. We have been working on the FM gallery. In fact, once I get Nick going, I'm going to go over here and finish working on the text for the FM gallery to make sure you can download the free version. The website needed a complete, vigorous rescrubbing, recleaning. So, but yeah, very, very, very cool. So that'll be going on, and then the upcoming broadcast schedule for those of you wondering about who we are, what we're doing, and like how everyone knows who I am, etc. If you're watching this recording, this is fmtraining.tv, where if you go to FM Training here on the website, you can press the various buttons across the top, the tabs. If you press the live button, you're seeing a live feed from our FileMaker system. This is FileMaker. It's not Pro, it's not Go, it's not WebDirect. It's basically custom web publishing. Custom web publishing using the data API. It allows us to get a direct feed out of FileMaker onto a web page for public access. So when people want public access, you don't use WebDirect, you use this kind of stuff. And so tomorrow is going to be day 4 for this. We bumped Calvin. Tomorrow's going to be day 4 for Nick. And then Joe Martin from 360 Works comes in on Thursday. Then Kyle Williams will be here on Friday talking about stuff like that. And then next week, Nick picks up day 5 and 6 on the image gallery. So the image gallery, this FM gallery stuff, well, we'll dive into that in 1 second. So this is the live training right here. As a reminder, this broadcast for you is free. The software generally always free, but if you want to support the channel, we greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. Very, very, very cool stuff. So yeah, if you go to the bundle right here, you can purchase one of our bundles. You can get the basic bundle with no videos on it, or with no videos. That's the whole point of the training. With no copy of FileMaker in there. So we have a bundle with FileMaker. We have bundles without FileMaker. They're very specific. And so you can purchase a single kind of copy sort of situation for yourself. Complete training comes with a lot of neat things. If all you need is just the training videos, that's what you want. And it allows you to pick the topics you want to learn. If you want to learn about script triggers or relationships or anchor buoy, or pick whatever else you want to learn about, how to install server on Linux, how to install it on the Mac, how to install Windows, all the little things you need to do. It's all in there. And so that's the way you can watch dedicated content. So with that, I want to jump over to Nick. So I was going to bring up the website real quick. So I'm going to be literally working on this. I'm going to actually do a couple more questions because I mean, I have an intense curiosity. When people are playing with helicopters, I have intense curiosity about what they're doing. Not so much what they're doing, but, you know, how come they're having so much fun and how do I get in on the action, right? So, because when you're a guy like me, yeah, you learn how to fly and do various things, and so someone's got a new toy, you want to see their new toy. So, so if you go to fmgallery.net, you'll end up on this web page. So we're going to update this text here. I think this is functional. I'm not entirely sure. Let me just try this real quick. I think this is functional. If you do this and then you put in your email, let me see, you can get the light version. It's supposed to do the in-flight. Nah, they're still working on it. It's going to do the little robot thing to make sure you're not a robot. Pick the fire hydrants. No, pick the boat. No, pick the helicopter. And they'll take the pictures all weird, so it screws up the robots. Anyway, Nick, are you ready to pick us up and move us forward on your FM gallery training?
Yes, I'm ready. So today, thank you for joining the third day of this session on FM gallery. But the beauty of this is we are going to learn about FM Gallery, but in the same time we learn about FileMaker, which is great. So today, last time I left over, the thing is when we generate the gallery. You know, so we know that the gallery is based on the virtualist. Okay, so it's a virtualist technique. And the last word I said is a virtualist on steroid, okay? Because this is what it is. It's a virtualist on steroid. The problem is, virtualists are extremely slow, okay? The slug is the slowest thing that you can do on FileMaker is virtualist. So in order to get the virtual list fast, you need to transfer the creation of the list to the server. Okay. Here you have what I say many times, the ravioli in evolution. It's because you're mixing so many techniques here that you lost. Okay. So we are mixing the gallery technique, the gallery with all the field that calculates exactly the ID of the photo you need to show. We mix that technique. We mix the technique of the virtual listing. When you create a list view, and then and at the same time you need to transfer everything on the server. So you mix a PSOS technique, right? So this is where you have problems to adapt those three things, because we learned last time that we cannot recycle a virtual list. Many people to avoid the creation of the list of the virtual list on the server. To avoid it, what they do, they recycle the current list. So they create 1,000 records or 2,000 records, and they use them, and they show only the record with things inside. The problem is this: it's extremely hard to manage when you have multiple people working on the same file. When you have the virtual list technique, the main problem, the main issue is when you have multiple user connected to the same file, because you need to sandbox them. So a user needs to be protected, because he's going to create things, he's going to use things, he's going to display things for him that you don't want to see what the guy is going to see, what another user is seeing, right? And what you see on your computer, what you want to display on your screen, you don't want another guy to see what you're doing, right? So you need to sandbox this. Doing this, the technique is not difficult. You need to mix a fourth technique on top of this, is the technique of the transfer of font set. Okay. So we are going to learn a lot of things today. We are going to, learn, I don't know, because normally you should know what I'm talking about. But we are going to see a demonstration, a real-world application of what we see, or what we say. When we say Richard, you say, well, what do you say? We eat our own dog food? Okay, that's what we do, okay? So, okay, don't poo on the desk, okay? Okay, so so what we do here, we use the technique we are telling you to use, right? So let me share my screen right quick, and so we can start doing things. Okay, so I was playing a little bit. So the technique of how to send how to generate the gallery on the server, right? How to generate the gallery on the server, and how to get the result you want, and how to sandbox all the people. So this is what we are going to learn, okay? So the file is not shared. The file is not shared. I did that on purpose because I want you to learn how it works. To learn how it works, I need to demo this locally, and tomorrow I'm going to use the file shared, okay? So how it works, what we want to achieve here, okay? We want to generate this list, right? We want to generate this list on the server, right? But here's the problem. First problem, the client has no idea what the server is doing, and the server has no idea what the client is doing. So it's like two people not talking the same language on different country without internet. It's the same problem. The server has no idea where you are, what you're doing, what you display, no idea of this. And at the same time, the client has no idea what the server is doing. So here we have two problems. First of all, we need to ask the server to do something based on the situation you generate on the client, right? So you are here and you want to generate the gallery on the client, on the server. but it's the client that will define the situation, define the data and everything. And at the same time, when the server will be done doing this, the server has no idea which client has done this. The server has no way to communicate with you to tell you, oh, by the way, it's done. I wish we could do that, right? We could have a server telling the client, oh, I'm done, right? Here's the result. I wish we could do that. Unfortunately, server has no push capabilities. And because that's what we call that. Is the push capability. When the servers do something and tell the client, oh, by the way, I'm done.
It's a push notification, right? Yeah, pushes.
Yeah, it's a push. Yeah, push capabilities, because you have notification is just the message that you get in the corner.
Yeah.
But the push capability is like tell the client to do something. Like trigger a server, trigger a script or something like this, right? This is much more than just notification. It's much more than this. But we will never have that. Okay, so but we can walk around, and I'm going to show how we can do this. So the generate local. So here, what we are going to do, we are going to okay. So I'm going to deactivate this for now. Okay, I'm going to deactivate this, and I'm going to generate the gallery on server. Okay. So generate gallery on server, and I'm going to change this a little bit. Just for now, I'm going to do this perform script locally, because I want to do that locally. I first wanted to do that. What's the name? I want to do that on the server, but I changed my mind at the last minute because it wasn't clear enough, unfortunately, for everybody to learn. Because I want people to learn. Okay, so I'm going to change this. And I'm going to make this happening. Okay, so it's pretty much the same thing, but we are going to generate the gallery on the server, but we are going to fake it. Okay, so what it needs to be done to generate the gallery? We need to know information. We need to give information to the server, but you remember I told you that we need to sandbox this. Okay, what's the sandbox? It's each user need to have what we call a session ID. Okay, each time you use FileMaker FM Gallery, each time a user is logging in on the server, right? When Gallery is shared on the server, each user that log in Gallery, each user gets what I call a session ID. Okay. So a session ID is this. It's a number. It's just a number. And at the day I invented that technique, UUID wasn't existing. So that's why you have a number. But the number works very well. A number. So you have a number. Each time you log in, you get a number 60, 74, 75, 76, etc. Okay. So why I'm not using the user name? Is because if you use a username and you have the same user connected twice on two different computers, you have a big mess happening. So you cannot rely on the account number. So this is a trick. It's a tip that I'm giving you. If you want to do a sandbox if you want to use a sandbox technique, never ever use a username or use an account name, because you never know what the guy will do. The guy will can have 5 computers and logged in 5 times, and then you have 5 users with the same username or the same account name, and then your sandbox no longer working. Okay, so that's why you need to use a session ID. Okay, so the script here said, okay, I need to transfer information. I need to transfer information to the server, but it cannot be a mere parameter. It cannot be a mere parameter. Why? It's because you want to sandbox this into, you want to make sure that you have you attach this to a user, to a session. Okay, so that's why in the file you have what I call a session table with a mere with mere fields like this. You know, you don't need much thing in this. Okay. Of course, you have a number. Each time you are creating a record, that when the user logs in, a record is created, and the value is incrementing here, right? And then I'm generating, based on that number, I'm generating the global variable that you just saw. Okay, so this is a process. You log in. As a login, you have you go to the session table. You create a new what's the name? A new record, and then you get a number. Okay, but this session table, you can use it to transfer things to a server. Okay, you can use this as a support to transfer information to the server. So how it works. For example, I need to transfer those information to the server. The line number, the record ID list, the font count, and the thumbnail number. All of this is the information necessary in order to my calculation. Remember the calculation, I'm going to show you that in a moment. But it's the basic information I need in order to get my system to function, okay, to work. Okay, so I need to transfer that to the server, but it cannot be a mere parameter, because I need to sandbox this to a user. Okay, so that's why I have in my what's the name in my session table, I have those fields. Those fields are there in order to support my effort to transfer information to the server. So how it works? Those information, I got them before I generate the gallery. So I'm not going to repeat myself because I did it twice already. So those information is how many lines I need to create, how many virtual list rows I need to create for, okay? The list of all my records, all photos I need to generate. I have a list of records, a list of IDs here. How many records I found, and how many columns I need to display. How many lines, or the list of all the photo IDs, how many photos I found, and how many columns I need to generate. Okay? So I transfer this to the server via the session ID, the session table. So I'm using the session table. So here, what I'm doing here is because I found out that I have a bug, okay, and I want to. I mean, a bug. Something can happen if each time that you log in, log in, okay, in the session table, I'm creating a record. Okay, so for example, today I log in with this ID. Okay, okay, admin Nick Hunter. So everything okay for now. Okay, but if I delete this record for any reason, this record got deleted, I cannot generate gallery anymore, and I get tons of bugs. So to make sure that this will always be created, okay, I force the system to check with the relationship, right? That means with this relationship, if the get current ID session is not existing in the session ID in the section table, create a record. Okay, if it's not existing, this will create a record only if the record is missing. If the record is not missing, it will just update the record. Okay, this is a fine technique to do that. You use a relationship map to do the test for you. If the record associated to that ID number, to that session ID, if the record is not in the session table is not created, the relationship will create the record and then update the information. If the record is there, no problem. The system will just update the information.
David Angel said a little bit ago, he was asking about could you use persistent ID?
Yes. Okay. I wanted to answer this question. Yes. The answer is yes. But the problem is, as I mentioned, this file has been created a long time ago, and I wasn't even using UUID. Can you imagine persistent ID? Forget about it. In 2009, 2010, we didn't have this. So, and that's why I'm not using it. But you can update the technique and make it and use the persistent ID. Now, the persistent ID, I like to use it, but you need to make sure that the persistent ID can be used for security reasons, right? Because it's attached to a computer. So now when I'm using persistent ID, it's just for security reason, like I really want to hide stuff, or I want or something like this. But for here, you can use a UUID would be great. I must update that. It's nothing. It's just an update a field. But definitely, yeah, you can use persistent ID. So
and then Labo says what Labo 404 just asked the question. So on this topic, why not using parameters?
To be honest with you, I don't know why. Because obviously I found out a problem when I built this. But okay, parameters here. Okay, the parameter here is because I am going to use. Okay, let's see the script, how the script is there, right? So I could be using script parameters, but I'm using script parameter for other things. So you can liberate yourself from the script parameter. So I think, okay, to be honest with you, I don't remember the reason why, but I know a thing. Oh yeah, I know. Okay, I found out. So it's because the script parameters, most of the time I'm using this with a lot of IDs, So I'm using lot of IDs, but I don't what's the name? Control the number of lines that I have. I can have 2, 10, 2,000, 10,000, 5, 50, 100. I don't control the number of rows or values I'm going to transfer on the parameters. So most of the time, what I'm doing here, when I have a table like this, when I have the session table, because in FM Gallery, I need the session table for many things, not only for that, okay? So, but when I need a session table, that means when I need to sandbox this, and I have the table, why not using it? I've used this, I dump this on that table, right? And then I free my parameters for other things, okay? It's because this version of Gallery, I know why I'm doing this, because in FM Gallery Pro, okay, I have so many things in the parameters when I generate the gallery, right, that I had to dump that in the session table, okay, to make sure that I don't get trouble with this, okay. So if you have the table, or if you don't feel comfortable using complicated parameters, okay, this is a great technique. You have a table, you dump everything in the record, right? And then from the script on the server, you go to fetch that record, right? And you use the information of the record. It's much better than and sometimes faster than just try to be smart with super complicated script parameters calculation, right? Because sometimes here it can get very, very complicated. So, and it is true now that I'm talking about this. It is true that sometimes even myself, I shoot myself on the foot, forgetting to use that technique, And I'm thinking about Scott Kane, for example. I'm using on 2 occasions in this file super complicated script parameters, and I just realized right now that I'm stupid because I could use that technique of the session table and dump all the problems that I have with the script parameters, right? So it's sometimes it's better just to use a very old and approved techniques than trying to be smart and use. I know Kyle we won't agree with me, but using kind of a JSON or stuff like that, which is complicated. And also it is much faster. Okay, the second real reason why I'm using that technique is for debug purposes. When you debug a script performance server, and you have everything on the script parameters, good luck with this. Good luck with this. And Richard, you can confirm. Sure. Here, you can see here, I have the information. Back. I can see them. So when I generate a record on the server, the record will come here. Right? The record will come here, and I can see the data coming. And if the data are not consistent, I can see that immediately. When you debug something, a performance script on server, when you debug and you have very sensitive information and all based on variable and you cannot see it, correct? So this is why I'm doing this. I want to continue here. So sometimes I'm using technique here. It's true that, you know what? I'm going to have a webinar explaining that technique of using a table to transfer things. Because now that I think about it, it's a very old technique that I'm using, because don't forget, we are, Richard, myself, and we are veterans, okay? So we were fighting the wars without the electronics drones and stuff like that we have today. Back in the day, we didn't have the script parameters. Okay, so we needed to find out how to transfer things, how to keep things, and how to. Okay, so we didn't have the script parameters. But that technique, that very old technique, is very good for debugging purposes. For debugging purposes, you can even imagine. Okay, because I tell you something. I don't for all the customers that have that bought FM Gallery, they remember that. I promised the people a very fast FM Gallery version, and it took me months to get it, because it took me months to figure out what I'm doing now to make it working. It took me months. That's why I resuscitated this old technique, because of this old technique, I figured out what was wrong and I could fix it and found it and finally got the thing working. So that's why I want now. I'm going to do Margaret. We need to write this, because I want to explain how this technique works, because it saved my life here. Without this technique, I will never have done the virtual list on FM Gallery on server. Never. Okay, so let's continue. So I have this. So I explained this. Now I'm using. I created a new window. Okay, why I'm creating a new window? You remember, I told you many times, don't try to hide a window when you need a new window in order to when you create a new window, in order to land into a different what's the name, entity, right? A different table, right? Don't try to hide it. So here, what I'm doing here is I'm doing this. What's the name of the video? Okay, photo gallery. Photo gallery call. Okay, here. So here, what I'm doing, I'm opening a new window, and I say, okay, generating the gallery, and I keep this window open until the server is done. Okay, and I can continue my script. So when I show that card, the server is working for me, okay? But in order to make sure, but even though the gallery on server is super fast, it can take like 2, 3, or 4 seconds, depending if you have 10, 2,000 or 5,000 photos, right? So in order to make sure that the people knows what's going on. I have this splash screen, this display coming, generating the gallery page. So this is what I'm doing. So and this is how I start using that technique of the window, showing the window in a gallery with a nice text instead of trying to hide it, and you get the spinning wheel. Okay, for 4 seconds, you don't know what it is. Okay, now you have kind of information. Okay, so when I'm done with this, what the server is doing? Okay, what the server is doing? The server is getting the current ID in the parameter. So I'm getting the current session ID. I need a session ID in order to get all the information of the, remember, of the session table, right? So the server, what you need to know, the server has no idea what the client was doing. So you need to give all the information of the server. Now, what I need the session ID because I need to go to the session table and retrieve the information. So the server goes to the session table, you go to the layout session table, and he goes and he do this, the session ID with the current session ID. This is what I'm doing. I'm doing a perform find, a mere perform find. If that's an error, if there's a problem, that means something wrong, you are debugging, or your script parameter is wrong, or something wrong, you halt everything. Use that technique as much as possible. When something wrong, okay, because otherwise you can end up having a while script that create records infinitely. Okay, so you can get something, you can get a very bad results. Okay, so make sure that everything you can fail, everything that can fail, you need to have a get error and alt when you use pieces. Okay, this is a great rule that you should follow. Okay, so if that's okay, that means I am in the record of the session. Okay, then I can generate the variable based on the records I have here, based on the fields, right? So I transfer. So these scripts transfer to the table the information, and here I am doing the opposite. I am setting a variable, okay, based on the record. Here I'm setting the field and a record based on the variable, and here I'm doing the opposite. So I just transfer. I went to the server. The server has no ID. I tell the server, don't worry. I tell you where to retrieve the information. Here's the information. And now what I'm doing here, very simple thing, and that's why it got me so much time to figure out why it wasn't working. So I go to the layout, to the gallery layout, right? To the gallery table. It's where I have the gallery kind of the gallery table. Okay, so I'm going to the layout where the gallery table is related. I go to the first record and I omit all the records. That means I don't want to interfere with the record of somebody else. I don't want to interfere with the gallery of another user. Another user could be displaying pictures as you are doing it in another client, right? So you don't want to interfere. So the best way not to interfere is to go to the first record and you omit all the record that there. That means the server will display pretty much an empty layout, right? A layout with no record, zero record. But all the records existing are there, but we don't check. Okay. So here I put, this is just because I have a bug of, a situation where it could get the gallery to fail if the line number equals 0. If that happens, that means the user tried to generate the gallery with 0 records. So, and to prevent the bug to interfere, I just do it. If the line number is 0, I'll the script. I could have put that here, but whatever, it's the same. Now I need what I call the batch ID. Okay, so what the batch ID? Okay, remember I had the session ID. Okay, for the session to retrieve the information based on a user, okay? So each user has a session ID, but I need a batch ID, okay? So why I need the batch ID? Because my system, okay, the virtual list, each time you generate a virtual list and you want a new virtual list and a new virtual list and a new virtual list, I'm not deleting records. I am omitting records. I am omitting records. Never try to delete records because deleting records is slow, okay? And you don't want to delete record on the fly all the time. Why? It's because you are going to damage your database doing this. You know, FileMaker hates when you create 10 record, delete, create 10 record, delete, create 10 record, delete. They hate that. FileMaker hates that. You are fragmenting the database. And at one point, sometime, you know, when you do, oh, I don't know why my file got, crashed, for example, on the server. Oh, because you're doing this, you know. What FileMaker doesn't like is when you create 2 records and you delete them, right? You create, and then right after that, you delete. 10 records, you delete. 20 records, you delete. So if you do that, FileMaker hates it, you know. So you damage your file. You know, I know most of the people doesn't know that, but you're fragmenting. You are excessively fragmenting your file, and that's why I don't like to do this. Okay, and at the same time, it's super slow. And in the same time, I hate, and I tell you again, I hate having a piece of that delete records. Okay, because it's source of all the problem you can imagine. And you don't want that. You don't want that to happen, because things can fail. Global variable can fail, and you cannot think about every case scenario, and you may end up having a delete record that delete all records. Right? So it's I know Richard has the same thing. All the veterans, we have the same kind of fear of delete all. You know, this stuff here, delete all record, We hate this. We hate this. What's the name? Script step. We hate it. You know, because in the past that was the source of many problems. So do not delete record. You omit them. But now you understand why I need a batch ID. Because I need an ID each time I generate the gallery, because I'm not deleting records. I cannot rely on the ID of the session, because I will have all obsolete records omitted in the table, but they're there. So I cannot say, oh, use the session ID to retrieve your information. And that was the problem I got with the gallery. I was using the session ID and it wasn't working well. Okay, so the batch ID is this. Each time I am going to generate a gallery, each time I'm going to generate a virtual list, I'm going to get a UUID. Okay, it's a UUID. I'm generating the UUID at the moment I need it. So it's new. It's new all the time. It will be new all the time. It will be new. When I got this batch ID, then I can start the process of generating the virtual list, okay, on the server. Don't forget that everything that I'm doing right now is on the server, right? So I'm generating the virtual list. So you will tell me, Nick, we don't see any set fields. We don't need, no, because I'm not using set fields, okay? So how am I doing this? This is why I'm using here I'm using global variable. Why is, again, because for debug purposes, okay? Sometimes it's simpler for debug purposes to use, what's the name? Global variable instead of local variable, because the local variable exists only during the script. The global variable will exist after the script. Then when the script fails, you can still go and check your variable and say, okay, oh, I know why. It's because this value is negative. Or, oh, this global variable is not existing. That means it's empty, right? So you can debug your stuff much easier when you use that technique.
Oh, that's cool. Real
Yeah.
quick, we do have one question, Nick, from
Yes.
YouTube. So should we periodically defrag a database?
Yes, we've used this will be a good. Actually, I encourage everybody to do that once a month. Shut down your file on the server and use that save copy as and use this compacted copy. Okay. You need to do that. It's very important. Okay, the gallery. Okay, here the problem of the gallery. That's why FM gallery is a special. It's a special file. It's a file for photos. That means it's a file that can get bigger. Okay, that can get big, especially if you use the embedded photos and not the remote photos. You know what I mean, right? The containers. So if you use embedded containers, you can get a file with 20, 50, even 100 gigabytes. Okay. So when you have a huge file like this, okay, bigger the file is, and more the risk you have to crash it because of the fragmentation. So that's what you need to know. If your file is big, you need to defragment it to compact your file once a month, or if once or 2 weeks, depending on the size of the file. But this is a great hygiene of life for your file. Okay, you can prevent big problem with this. But the number, so that's why FM Gallery, I needed to step on eggs here. I have potentially I could get a big file, and I am deleting a record all the time with the virtualist technique. And you imagine 10 users playing all day long with the gallery, generating virtualists, 10 users like all day long. And you create, delete, 10. So you can be creating and deleting millions of records every day. Okay, how do you think your file will feel? Okay, doing this, right? So that's why virtualists never delete files, records, never delete records, omit them, and you can and you need to compact your file. What's the name? Often. Okay.
Got it. Moki on Discord has a question real quick. He wants to clarify: close file, download file, open in client, save as compacted, then upload compacted version back up to server. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, or you can just open the file on the server, just stop the file, close the file. And if you have a version of FileMaker installed on your server, that's a good question for Jacob. Jacob
I'm back, Nick. I have a question. So why are we running a compress on the file? What was the premise for running the compress on it? Because why?
The premise is because gallery has the nature of the gallery, create and delete records all the time. I'm creating records and delete records. That's why I was explaining that I'm not deleting records. I'm omitting records, and at the end, I'm deleting a big batch of records. I'm not doing create two records.
Right, delete. Right. No, I understand. I understand. But the images, when you do with gallery, the images are external, correct? They're external.
Yeah. Okay. They could be external, but if you don't turn what's the name? Your container into a remote
external
container.
I see.
Yeah. It's by default. I'm selling the product with embedded.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if they,
Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of an important concept. So when you get FM Gallery, turn on the external container, please. That's like a big thing to turn on, especially if you're on the FileMaker server. But then the records you're creating are not container records; they're just like text records, right? For the
they're text records. But FileMaker will anyway. You will have the fragmentation of the file anyway, because you are going to do that all the time. You're going to create and delete millions of records every day.
I wouldn't get, listen, for everyone wondering about this, because so Moki's asking the question. So how many, let me just ask a question, Nick. How many records would an average person create in a day or a week of using this thing? 100 records, 1,000 records?
No, I'm not. Yes, but not on the gallery. On the gallery, you create and delete records all the time. Because the when you use virtualist,
Right.
You are creating and deleting records all the time. Okay. You can have 20 people doing this. Imagine I have 20 users on my gallery. I have a client like this. He has 25 users on the gallery. Okay. One day he found a bug. He found the bug that the session at closing, he wasn't deleting the records.
Right.
He found out this. He found out a bug in his version, okay, because he deactivated something he shouldn't have, and he said, okay, the problem is my database now is like 12 gigabytes,
right,
and I don't know why. So I investigate, yes, because in the gallery table, he had something like 25 million records.
Right, but these are mostly, this is just text data. It's not container data for the most part.
No, but text. But the problem is you will fragment. You will have the fragmentation of the file on FileMaker because you create records and you delete them. So the empty space won't be free. It's small, but the problem is FM Gallery is not 100 records a day. It's not 100 records a week. It's 1,000 records a day because each time you generate the gallery. Okay, I need to show that because otherwise you guys won't understand.
Well, the trick is that telling people to basically defrag their FileMaker file is something that's not something we've discussed previously, right? In terms of being
but this is why the FileMaker has this command here, the compacted copy, because it's important to do it. At one point, every month, every 2 months, every 3 months, you need to do it. I know that the server. Okay, I know that that's what Jacob. Those questions are for Jacob, because I know the server. Each time you close the file, do a defragmentation. You do a compact copy kind of thing.
Yeah, it does some cleanup. It does some cleanup. Correct.
Yeah, some cleanup. I do save as copy once a month, and I never got a file broken. So let me show you FM Gallery, why FM Gallery desperately needs this consideration. Okay, when you generate the gallery, okay, let's go there. Let's generate the gallery. Okay, each time you do this. Each time you do this, you generate. So you generate each time you generate. Each time up you generate. Each time you do a change, you generate. Now 25 records. So in 24, 20. See, I'm doing this now. I have 27. So in matter of seconds, I generate 27 records. So imagine 10 user is 270 records. Imagine those people using this all day long.
Right.
So you can have like 27,000 records or 30,000 records every day created and deleted. It's gallery is using. I'm generating records that I'm deleting.
Right. No, I understand. I'm just trying to, because just to be clear, we have never ever given people standard. I mean, you're doing this on a live stream, and so I can't kind of rethink this a little bit. But we're giving people instructions. For those of you who are live here, you get to see the interaction between me and Nick. We've never provided instructions on a tool. Says if you use this tool and you use it really seriously, you've got to shut it off the server and do this compacted thing every 60, 90 days or 6 months.
But
people don't.
Yeah,
most people don't.
Yeah.
People don't do that, Nick. I mean, they just don't, right? So.
I know.
Yeah, so it's
just not what I was giving a tip to prevent the fragmentation. Is you need to compact it. This is fragmentation will happen. The fragmentation of the FileMaker file will happen that you do it or not.
To what? So SSDs do not require defragmentation. We're not talking about defragmenting the hard drive at a hard drive level. We're talking about the FileMaker file itself. We create records in it. This is a very advanced topic. Normally, you never have to worry about this. In fact, frankly, if I were all of you, I wouldn't worry about it. But because of the confusion that this is causing. But as you create records in FileMaker and then you quit using records in FileMaker, FileMaker doesn't just naturally release the space. It keeps the space within the file. This has nothing to do with using, Norton defrag or something from like 20 years ago. SSDs do not require defragmentation, but when you say the word defragmentation, then it implies a whole bunch of stuff. So the FileMaker file has these unused blocks. The term is unused blocks, and it leaves them in the file. And the FileMaker file, Pro or Server, if you close it, and if it sees that it really, really needs to do some cleanup, it will do some. If the file is running live on the server and is never shut off, then this cleanup never occurs. So if I would say that if suddenly you had 1,000 photos and a 20 gigabyte file or something like that, then you might want to look at opening or closing the file. But this is not standard hard drive defragmentation. It is the idea. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, but that's what people heard you say, Nick. So that's what you have to.
I said, okay, the FileMaker file got fragmented. Because got unused block, which is another word for fragmentation.
Yeah,
and the problem is this: it's not me, it's not FM Gallery. You have exactly the same problem. When I see people just deleting 10 million records on FileMaker, and create 10 million records and delete 10 million records and importing 10 million records and deleting 10 million records. Oh, you do this, and then at the end, oh, hello, my file is 5 gigabytes. Okay, yes.
Right, and the file is mostly empty. So someone, I'm looking over here in the question and answer section. Someone asked, well, can't FileMaker do this automatically? The answer is no, it doesn't do it automatically. The best way, the one way of doing it would be simply to go into FileMaker server, close the file, and then it'll do some maintenance on its own. The file won't close immediately. If it sees it's got a lot of cleanup, and it will sit there and spin and do a little cleanup. And then you can reopen it immediately on the server. It should be smaller. It's not a perfect cleanup, but it does some. We'd have to talk to Clay about this, but it does some cleanup and removing of blocks, right? So once again, this is unused space within the file, right? So that's kind of the idea of defragging, except that the file's bigger than it needs to be. It used to be this thing we're running. We would do save a compressed copy all the time. Now it's really not required so much, but if you notice, listen, most people here are developers, so I'm telling you as a professional developer or someone who wants to be a developer, if you see a very fat file and you don't think there's a lot in there, close the file off a server, open it with Pro, run a save as a compressed copy, and compare the before and after sizes, okay? Why doesn't FileMaker do some of this cleanup? It does when you're in the process of closing the file on Pro or Server. It's not perfect, but it does do some bulk cleanup at that point. You'll see a progress bar pop up on Pro, says, oh, closing the file, and then deleting a bunch of stuff. Or you'll see it on Server in the log saying doing some cleanup, and then it closed the file. But there is no command for stopping the file, pausing the file, and instead of running a backup, running a compressed copy on it. It doesn't. That's not part of the feature set. If you want to request that that's a feature set from Claris, you can do that, but it is not a feature set right now. Largely because people don't normally need it, right? Most people don't create millions of records and delete millions of records every day. It's really kind of unusual. Like Starting Point, we don't do that. But if you're doing some interesting performance, Nick is breaking the laws of physics here with FM Gallery. That's why it's so cool. He's breaking the laws of physics, and one of the ways he breaks the laws of physics is he creates records and trashes them and just leaves the trash laying around the room. And he hides it so you don't see it, but it's creating this trash in there. And then the idea, of course, is that you could close the file and it does a cleanup, but no one knows there's trash in there. But that's how he ekes out, he squeezes out every little bit of performance. Right? Makes sense?
Yeah. Yes.
So
that's the point. That the point of all this technique here is to every single bit of performance that I could get is welcome. Okay, it's when you have a performance problem, and you can get a little bit here, a little bit there, and let's omit the record and you delete once a week, for example. Okay, wow, I don't care. I don't care to get those records on the side because they are the somebody will see them. So let me continue that because I see the time is 4. So I need to continue. So why I have the batch ID, to explain why, is because I couldn't rely on the session ID, just because that reason, because I'm not deleting the records. I'm keeping them on the side and I'm forgetting it. So I need an ID each time I generate the gallery on the server. Each time the server do that, I need an ID, okay? So I don't have a set field here because I'm using, like Kyle said, I'm using a bunch of auto entry calculation. Okay, so so auto entry will do that for me. Batch ID, for example, I get whatever is in the batch ID variable. So each time I create a new records, automatically what is inside this variable will be added inside these fields. Same here, the session ID. You know, I got this. Same here. What the here auto entry calculation. So I have, you know, when I have the found count, I have kind of a calculation coming here. So so when I create new record, automatically I get all the information I need here to be automatically used, especially here. You know, all of these are auto entry calculation. That's why it's fast, is because I don't have a calculation. It's an auto entry calculation. My first version of a gallery had this on calculation and it was very slow. So I've learned and to use smartly all of this, and I build my calculation differently in order to make the thing working on auto entry calculation. So when the server is done doing this, because as you can see, the server is doing absolutely nothing. You know, it's doing nothing. Go to layout, big deal. Perform find on one ID, big deal. Okay. Set some variable, big deal. Go to one layout, okay. Omit some records, you know, and set a variable based on the get UUID and create a bunch of new records. So you know, it's absolutely nothing crazy, okay, nothing crazy. But the difficulty now is to get back all the information. So far, what I've done, I transfer everything that I know, everything that the client knows, okay, everything that the client knows, transfer into a table, dump into a table on one record. The server has no idea what's going on. So I tell the server, don't worry, go to the layout session table. Look for that records. Look for that records, okay? If you find it, continue, pick up all the information of that record, okay? Go to another layout, omit everything that you can find, and you create new records. That's it. Now, I need to do the opposite. I need the client to figure out what the hell the server did, you know? Because the client knows that the server did something. The client knows, you know, a perform script on server. The client knows the server did something. Now I need to find out what it is, okay? I need to retrieve those information here. So here what I'm done. I need the batch ID because all the records I created during that session, during this execution of the script, all the records I have created has this ID, the batch ID. Okay, so I transfer with the exit script step. It's difficult to explain. Exit script step over. I cannot do that. I cannot do that. So I transfer the ID that I just created here. Okay, so the script is executed in the server, and the server give me the batch ID. Okay, just what I need to know that. I need, okay, what the ID you create those records? Oh, with that ID. Okay, no problem. So you can see here, I got problem of debugging, and that's why I got that batch ID in the global variable, because I was constantly comparing the records created in the table with the ID number. I was constantly doing this, So I close the window. Remember, I open a new window, the window to display the message. Remember, the window, the photo gallery card. So I open that window just to display, oh, be patient, the server is working for you. I close this window, and I want to display the records that the server created. So I want to find the records with the batch ID of the record of the server. Right? This is what the server is doing. So I transfer. So the local version, I'm doing that locally. You can see here, I'm doing the loop locally. I'm doing everything locally. And believe it or not, but it's more complicated locally than on server. On server is faster and it's simpler because I'm using this transfer technique and the batch ID and stuff like that. So it's much simpler to do that. See, on the server, I have absolutely nothing to do, because I did that for the demo. But this is what I have. So it's very nothing. The generate gallery on server is simpler than generate la gallery locally. Okay. So do we have any questions? Because tomorrow I'm going to show that shared on the server. Do we have any questions?
Nothing that you could answer. But people were, a little bit asking more about the automatic compression and why doesn't FileMaker automatically compress stuff. So that's kind of where that goes. Kyle just said,
I know something. I know something because I remember I was part of this discussion. They introduce the compression of the file on server when you close the file, because is when they introduce this with the cloud. Okay, because I don't remember the reason, but the cloud version of FileMaker Cloud, I'm talking about FileMaker Cloud, was extremely sensitive to the fragmentation of files. So that's why they introduced this into the FileMaker server, that at least when you close the file, you get a little bit of cleanup. Okay, but it is important. It is important to do that. It's important.
Anyway, so tomorrow you're going to pick up the conversation. I think we're about done. We're past time here.
Yes. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to display. I'm going to show the difference. I'm going to show the same file without the transfer, without the gallery generated on server, and with the gallery generated on server.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.